Live, back again. Gonna talk a little bit about how noisy my preamps are. I think that's what the title of this is. And I thought I would start off by getting into, you've probably seen enough of this item here that I made, which is the XLR dummy connector. It's got a 150 ohm resistor in there for testing preamps. But as I finished the video for how I built this, I mentioned that you can also see my video where I teach you how, or I show you how I use it. And I haven't made that video yet. So I need to start making that video before I can release the video that that I just finished, right? So as I got into that, I realized, how do I use this? I've used it and got some interesting results. Found out some things, including how I can actually use something I already own to replicate that. But at its core, and I made two of these, an all black one, which is cool. I just use this one because it's the one that's in the video. But at its core, I test the preamp, and I've done that. And I have a sample here, which I'll show you. But it's not like a highly technical thing. This replicates a typical standard dynamic microphone at 150 ohms, which could be something like this SM7B, which this is not. I don't think this is 150 ohms, but these need a lot of gain to get up to level. So typically you're going to use most of your consumer preamps almost full. I'm going into a mix pre right now, mix pre 3, which is what you're hearing, because I'm connected from this to the mix pre 3, and then it's all going HDMI to the stream here. And so I haven't measured that yet, and you get a little different because full preamp on that is much more. I think it gives you like 70 or 75 dB of gain, or maybe that's a gain range. I have to look into that. But something like the Rodecaster here that I have in front of me, which you can't currently see, and I can't reach the camera to put it down. That has less, probably think more like 50 dB or 55 to give. And so that's going to be a little different. So when I talk about this, it's a measurement of what the preamp is at full, but then I got to bring it back to like, how do I actually use it? And that's a much more practical thing. So for me, it's at a base knowing how much noise your preamp is giving off, because if your preamp is not is too loud, any piece of gear that I review, a recorder, a mixer, audio interface, any of those things, if the preamp is too loud, it's over from there. There's no reason to go forward, because then it's not anything that I need to be using. So that's the place. That's where this is going to get me, right? It's going to measure the preamp and say, hey, we're starting off at full preamp, and it's giving you about 60 to 62 dB of noise. And I think that's about what I get. Something like 60, maybe even like 67, something for the Focusrite, which is the only thing, Focusrite Scarlett 2i4, which is the only thing I've tested so far. What are your settings with the mic and Procaster? Carlos, what is up? So that came in. Oh, so let me click this here. Let me get right back to that, Carlos, just to wrap up here, or not to wrap up the stream, but current thought. Otherwise, I'll totally forget it. But hey, Carlos, thanks for joining me. So measured at like 67, I know that the preamp's not going to get in the way of me making good sounding audio, right? I'm going to plug this microphone in. In fact, this microphone might be louder because they do give off a noise floor, but I'm good. That's a great base for me to start, because you're obviously not going to be at minus 67 dB when you bring the audio up to level for your finished video, audio, podcast, whatever it is, right? You're going to raise all of that in post. It's not going to be the same as what you recorded at. So you have to know where you want to start, and then you get a better idea of where you're going to end up. I know at something like a Focusrite, even full preamp, which I can actually power this SM7B without a cloud lifter or a FET head, prefer the FET head, I'm going to get clean audio, and maybe I'm going to have a slightly audible noise floor that I am going to be able to hear, and everyone's going to be able to hear differently, but I am going to be able to hear at minus 67. I'm still going to be able to hear that in my ears when I bring it to level for final production, which could be minus anything from like minus 20 to minus 16 LUFS, right? Noise floor, loudness standards. So I know that also still having a really low noise floor like that, I can hit it with a piece of like noise reduction, which the noise reduction these days is so good. And I can show you a couple of those that I use, and including my newest favorite one. When I say newest, I've been using it for months, at least 6 months. And I know that I can hit it with that, and it would be, I don't have to hit it too hard. It'd be enough to get rid of that noise floor and produce studio quality audio. That's it. What's up, Bangs? That's assuming, that the space you're in is quiet. So let's put up Carlos's question here before I show you something else. Carlos asks, what are your settings and the mic on the Procaster? So I don't have the Procaster, but I think you mean, I actually do have a Procaster. My buddy has it right now. He's testing it. But I think you mean the Rodecaster, which it is very confusing. You have the Procaster, the Podcaster, the Rodecaster. So the mixer, the audio interface, mixer, recorder, it's all those things, is a Rodecaster Pro. And so if that's what you mean, because I think it is, because you said your mic and the Procaster. Okay, we got it. Sorry for dragging that out. I can resize this question. That's really cool. I'm doing this on Ecamm Live, and it's just super cool. I'm really loving it. I bought the premium, so I can change the question. I love this. I love this so much. So Carlos, my settings, so you're not actually hearing the Rodecaster Pro right now, because I'm coming to you at 2K through the Sony a6500, which is going into the cam link. I have a mix pre. So this SM7B is going to the mix pre, and then it's going into the Sony, and that's all going out via HDMI. And I think I have this at flat. I can't turn to look at it. If we can, let me remove, this is supposed to disappear after 15 seconds, but I guess I need to go back and get that setting. Let's see. Yes. No? Yes. So you have some EQ, as I'm touching the microphone, you have some EQ on the SM7B, right? You can boost high or cut low. I don't have either of those things. Typically, I would actually cut low in post-production, so I probably should be doing that for the live stream, because otherwise I have no processing going. You're hearing the SM7B to the mix pre. That's the raw sound. And it's probably a little dark for what I would like in a final video. And since I'm recording this live, it is the final video. So I probably definitely need to go in or just flip the switch. I could do that now, I guess. I won't do it right now, but maybe I'll do it coming up. So Sound Speeds, which is a YouTube channel here, great guy. Seems like it. Obviously, I don't know him personally. Bangs is saying Sound Speed's recent EIN video used 200 ohms as a standard. Sure, right? Whatever. Yeah, it could be 80 ohms. There are mics that are 80, 100, 150. I think 150 shoots that middle ground enough. It gives me enough of an idea, as I was talking about, that base for where my sound is. Again, I'm not an engineer. Almost none of the tests I'm going to do are going to be super scientific. There's plenty of channels here that'll do that for you. In fact, I got this from Julian Krause. He's the one to go see if you need like exact specifications and measurements and specs and all that stuff. When it comes to audio, what do you hear, right? Audio is often determined by what you hear. Like, does it sound good? It is good, obviously, if you know what you're listening for. June, what's up? And so for me, this gets me in the ballpark. This lets me know, is the preamp basically junk? I mean, I have the classic old Zoom H4n here, right? And we've got preamps there, obviously. And if I took this and I connected it here for testing, which I am going to do for the video, there we go. We're simulating having an XLR microphone, 150 ohms, into the Zoom H4n. But obviously we don't have an open microphone to the room. So the key is that I can turn this preamp. It's now getting resistance. And if you think you can just turn up the preamp without anything in it, that's wrong. You're going to get a lot more noise. And if you think about it, sure, you're cranking you don't record preamps, you record microphones. So the preamp itself needs resistance, which it's going to get from the microphone. So this provides that. And I'll record the preamp. And this one is going to be what I would now deem too noisy to buy. But back in the day when I bought this was used very differently. Almost like I am hooked up now with the Mix Pre to the 6500. This went to my DSLRs. It often used a lav mic, a Sennheiser G3 or G2 that I still have. And it would those have their own preamp, so you didn't have to use this preamp. And so also that could be just an interface to the camera. Like I said, you're using other preamps. I also used it with condenser microphones, shotgun microphones. Those are not going to tax the preamp, right? You can pretty much drop the preamp by almost half when you got a phantom powered microphone. So before I jump into some screen share here, Bang says, of course, a Shure mic is almost always 150. Resistance is effectively infinite on an open jack. Yeah. So again, these are just some of the reasons why I use this. Now, I did do a test, and let me see. Back here, I got, this is a Q2U, right? Just like an ATR 2100. And if you notice something on here, I'm trying to get it out of the light there. It has an on-off switch. So my magic idea was, well, if this has an on-off switch, which is, effectively, it is turning off the room, is it still giving me the resistance? And could I just use this microphone if I already had one? I do. A lot of people have this microphone. A lot of podcasters have this microphone. It's a great microphone. I'd recommend any of those. If you had this, would this do the same thing? Well, in my one test, I plugged this in, and the noise floor, when it was open, went down to what it would be like with a microphone. Then I did this. I flipped the switch. So I'm going to make all this in my video coming up. Flip the switch, and this did the same thing. If not, it was a little quieter, but the differences were negligible. So you don't have to DIY your own. You have one if you have a microphone, probably any microphone with an on-off switch. I thought that was cool because it was actually a theory, and I thought, could this work? And some people thought it might be different. It seemed to work. So let me go to screen share. Let's go to the screen share. We got a little, I got the picture-in-picture going, which I think is pretty cool. I got my May the 4th lightsaber back here. It's not a lightsaber, it's a Quasar light, which I wanted to get for a long time. But we are looking at, we're inside Audition, Adobe Audition, and this is a file with, so on this section here, that I believe I needed, in a future test, I need to label these like a visual ID, an audio ID as to what it was. I think I did, but I did something to the file. Anyways, this, I believe, if we can hear it, I don't know if we hear anything. I don't see it coming up in the system audio. Let me see. Yeah, I don't see it coming up in the system audio. Hopefully the system audio is working. But basically you can see it's around minus 60 if you see there on the meter down below. This is wide open preamp on a 2i4, if I recall. And then this little pop here, which I won't play for you. This little pop here is me plugging in the resistor, I believe. And then actually it's twice, so I think I undid it, whatever. This is another pop. So on this side of it, this is the resistor, the 150 ohm resistor that I made. And when we play that, you see we drop about 10 dB from being wide open. So, that's telling me, obviously it's doing something, right? And it seems to be working. And if we look over here in the Amplitude statistics section, let me see, I can scan this selection, and I have questions about this. This is where this all started for me today, about what number to use. Because, anyways, let's take a look. I'll talk about that in 1 second. if we look here, we see the peak amplitude's minus 67.44. If we look down here at the audio meter with it running, we see it's bouncing around minus 67. It really is. It's really sticking between minus like just above 69 and a little hotter than minus 69. So about 68. It's really close to that peak amplitude number that we got from the amp statistics. But what you see a lot of times is a lot of reviewers and testers, they use the total or average RMS number. And in this case, it's minus 81 dB, which is, wow, is really quiet. And that would be amazing. However, this is where my practicality, or the way I test things, when I say things are practical and less technical, this average RMS number is probably technically correct. But because it is, I guess it has to do with perceived audio. Even though we have a perceived audio number down here, right? Perceived loudness is minus 76, so closer to that minus 81. Whichever one of these you use, it's nowhere near what the meters are showing us right now. And those meters in this section that I just scanned never drop. I mean, they don't even drop below 75, not even 72, not for a brief moment, let alone anywhere near 81. So, and the other thing, so is that number the number I want to be using, right? The other thing I would say is that I can hear this, right? Minus 81, that average RMS number, I'm not actually going to be able to hear that. And I think I have really good hearing. I'm hearing all the way down to like minus 72, at least, maybe 75. And these are noise floors that I actually don't want. So when the silent parts of my audio and say like a podcast, I don't want really any noise there, but I don't want it to be obvious. So what's nice is if you start at a level like this and you clean it up, this won't be perceivable underneath your voice, so that when you go to a completely clean track in the silent spaces, it actually is silent. It won't be there won't be a noticeable change that you don't want. If you have a noise floor in that case and you can hear the change, you don't want to do that because it just sounds weird. But for me, I can hear this. And I'm reminded, this is full preamp. My mic would not be full preamp in most cases. But so when I do my test, I think I'm going to talk more about really just what I just said. That for me, in a practical sense, in a actual use case, if I'm seeing a noise floor that is somewhere around minus 67, somewhere probably between this peak amplitude and this average RMS number, I'm pretty happy. Anything under minus 60, 65 is going to be really good. And again, that's full preamp. So that's fantastic. Only if you're using something like an SM7B on a consumer preamp that gives you like 50 dBs of gain, are you going to be full? But even in that case, I find with this, and it could have to do with the resistance of this microphone, I don't really get a lot of noise floor. I'm going to get enough that I'm personally going to want to clean it up, but it's not a problem preamp. So just thinking about how I want to talk about this, I'm not going to report that it's minus 81. It just isn't, because it would be silent, and it's also not silent. So let me jump back here to Cam with you guys, see what's going on. I think Bangs has something to add in the chat some more. Generation Scarlet was, actually, it's crazy. It's this one. Right here. This is the one. I was lucky. I was not set up for that. It's only out because I was using it. This is my good old friend, the 2i4. This is a first gen. I'm pretty sure it's not, I don't even think it's second gen. And I love this thing. It's still great. I love it because it has all of these controls are right on the face. So I also have a 4i4, which Focusrite sent me and I reviewed. I still have it so I can do all these tests. They gave it to me, disclosure, thank you. I don't use it, but I do use it for these tests. So that's what's fantastic about having it. So this is my favorite because they moved a lot of the controls inside the Focusrite control app or whatever. I hate going into software. Hate's a strong word. I do not like going into software for adjustments. I want them to be on my device so I can make them on the fly. And this has it. And this thing is so quiet. Like, it's crazy how good this is and how old it is. Even the second gen, I believed, improved on the preamps a little bit, and the third maybe a little bit more. It's really small differences. But I love that device. And so that's what I started testing with. So hopefully that answers the question. RMS, let's see. Bang says RMS, I usually see true peak about 10 dB hotter. Right. So that true peak is showing 67, a little hotter than the peak amplitude because it's true peak. Right. And the peak here, I think it's important for me to also say, I understand why you wouldn't use peak in this case, because what it's peaking is, let me go back to the screen share. In Audition, when you loop like this, I can measure without it looping, but it's going to catch, when it loops around, you watch it spike. It's hard to see, but it spikes. It creates like a little pop. So that's that's the peak, I think, because it's actually causing that on the audio meter. So, you know, it's going to be something a little quieter than this, maybe minus 68, 69. Like I said, kind of what I'm seeing it bounce. In fact, these numbers, I don't really need them. I think that's what I'm coming down to, right? If you're doing something highly technical, I guess, and you need that spec, like I said, I'm never going to report minus 81. It's just not, it might be technically correct from RMS, and I know that gets crazy deep when you're getting into electronics, but I know what I hear, and I know what I see, so I'm getting a noise floor full preamp with the resistor in around minus 69, minus 70 dB. That's exactly what I want to know. How much noise, audible noise, am I going to hear when I use this device? So you're helping me work this out right now, because this is what I'm going to talk about on my video when I talk about how I'm using this, right? Other people might use this differently. And my friends here on YouTube who do these things, a lot of them are going to report the average RMS number, and that's fine. It is completely, this isn't made to be used one way. It's made to be used however you want to use it. So that's what I'm going to talk about in that video, which I need to complete. And these things are always, I'm going to do it in the Focusrite. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to do the H4n, the Rodecaster Pro, I think, the Mix Pre, which is very different because I get a lot more gain on that. So I'm not sure how I'm going to talk about that other than to just talk about that. Obviously with the YouTube video, I want to be not long-winded. Of course, we're on a live stream here. These are long-winded, but let me pop back on camera. Let me stop that Audition file. It could be creating noise in the thing, hey, could you hear it? Is the noise floor gone? That noise floor was technically in the stream as well. I didn't roll my intro. Let's do that. That's actually relevant because it has my website on it, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. Maybe I'll save that for another live stream because I want to go through my website for a specific reason. I don't know that played. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do it again because I want to see, not because you need to hear it, I need to see if the system audio played. Let me check that real quick. All right. I don't know why the system audio. Oh, I have it set in Ecamm Live so that it only shows when it screen shares. But when you show a movie, it should do that. Huh. Interesting. All right. Well, you saw it anyways. It has some sound effects that go with it. I'll have to work on that one. Let's get back to what... yeah, peak is for clipping, right? I may have missed a question in there. Let's see. All right, so we got some good chat going on between Gil, maybe. I hope I'm saying that right, and Bangs. And they're having, that's 100%. That's what we're supposed to do, right? It's cool when the chat has their own conversation. So you hear the chimes. Interesting. I wonder what chimes you heard. All right. It wasn't showing as the system audio. All right, hang with me here while I do this one more time. It's bugging me. I'm stupid. I'm staring at the box that says system audio, which I think I can actually show you, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. It's the movie audio. It's right. It's above a little bit. Wow. Talk about tunnel vision. All right. Good. You guys are hearing that. Perfect. That's awesome. That has been my open for a long time. I really want a new one of those. I need to pay for it. You know, the thing about paying for that kind of stuff is that I'm always nervous that I'm not going to get what I want. It's going to be a big pain. So I need to find a good motion graphic artist. The problem is I don't quite know what I want. So sometimes finding the right person means they need to have the vision that you want that you haven't had yet. Anyways, I have some ideas. I like black, white, clean, fast. Actually, Rode, talking about Rode, they have my favorite sort of what you would call a bumper stinger. I guess as a bumper is video and a stinger is audio. My favorite bumper for their like YouTube videos. So simple, has a cool sound effect. It drops, very clean. Anyways, check out Rode. Any of Rode's videos, you'll see it. It's very cool. All right, so if I go back to Audition, I think that's pretty much, I get some stolen sound on Fiverr. Yeah, I have plenty of sounds, which is nice. And I mentioned my favorite sound plugin right now, or noise removal, has a few plugins. So Acusonus, let me show you. I'll go into this. Before I go to the next thing, this is totally related because if you have a noise floor like I'm showing here, I'm going to want to clean that up. Let me show you how I actually would do that now. If I went into, let me hit the screen share again, we'll go back into Audition here. And if we're looking at this, okay, so I'm seeing I got a little bit of noise floor, right? Minus 69, I can hear that. And I want it gone, right? And I'm showing you a really dynamic, a high resolution audio meter down here all the way to minus 96. Normally, I can switch this. I usually have this at minus 72 because if that meter, the green bouncing there, if that is gone, like I'm not seeing anything in the silent parts, I'm good. Okay, that the audio is fantastic. It's below minus 72. It's super clean. I would call it like studio quality clean, and probably a lot of studios aren't even that clean. So great for a podcast production. I'm actually less picky about it in video because there tends to be more of a noise floor in video for several reasons. You might have a lav mic as opposed to like a mic that you are super close to, and it's dynamic versus condenser. Video, when you have the visual information, it's different in your ears, right? The noise becomes part of the scene, and even at low level noise is less perceived as noise. Whereas in an audio podcast, everything is the audio. It's earbuds in. That's an important part. When we're talking to people on YouTube, we're always telling, hey, if you want to really hear this, put headphones on. When you listen to a podcast, a lot of people, I would say most people, are putting them in headphones. Those who aren't, your audio is fantastic, right? But let's clean this up, okay? So this is running here, which I say running my iMac Pro fan is running, and hopefully the SM7B is doing a good job there, even though I'm pretty close to it. I did this on shotgun mic, and the setup was perfect, just almost perfect, and the shotgun mic was too loud because it's right above a Mac. As I say MacBook Pro, it was above a MacBook Pro. I'm on an iMac now, which can handle this a little bit better, streaming 2K. But I bought a nice light over here, which you can't see right now, for the background of that studio setup. And then I've switched to this studio setup. So I like it. I have one that sort of sit out in the open, do sort of a Q&A, and the backdrop to that has gotten better, which now is now just being used as like part of my key light. And this Quasar light is new back here, and I just threw it in the corner for dramatic effect. This is just this purple behind me. It's just an LED light that is literally right here shining on my gray backdrop. Kind of looks nice. It takes way too many lights to look like a YouTuber. No, I love lighting. It looks great. But when this was like the last piece to making the stream perfect. I love the way it looks. I love eCam. I love going out via the cam link. I am super excited with the setup I'm getting out of this, because my live videos now are as good as my produced videos, right? Just recorded straight from cam and then edited. So I can do live at what the quality that I really enjoy. And so before that stream, I had the Rode. I totally derailed, I know. But I had the Rode pod mic, and it was rejecting an amazing amount of sound, like to the point where it sounded like I had a noise gate on, and I did not. I don't in this case either. Although what's interesting is I have the sensitivity. I won't talk about the setup. I won't go into the setup on this stream or right now. If you want to know more, I was going to talk about how the mix pre is kind of set pretty low for what I need to go into the camera. All right, let's move on. Acusonus. Love these plugins. They came to me well over 6 months ago. And actually, no, you know what? They came to me like over a year ago. Let me pull one of these up. And I didn't know who they were, and I hadn't heard of them. And it just seemed like one of those requests to review stuff that I get all the time. And then I heard some news that Adobe had maybe worked with Acusonus. First of all, this is beautiful. Okay, their stuff is all about one knob. So you can see it's one knob. And you think, oh, that's just not going to do what I need to do enough of, because, I'm into audio and stuff. But that's sort of their shtick. And you can take a little more control. And these things let you affect different frequencies. I find myself on this mid frequency focus a lot for noise floors. But this is a noise remover. They have a few other plugins that are fantastic. And I am an affiliate, just know that. And that they did let me, they gave me the license to look at this stuff. But I didn't talk about it out loud till I was using it for at least 6 months. And I'll tell you, I use this on every production I do. Here's the simple thing. Isotope is fantastic. All right. I've got that too. And this is the number. I did a video about Isotope and their voice denoise, which I still highly recommend the voice denoise. That's this one here. I showed a video how I use this voice denoise, and it is fantastic. Mostly transparent, especially on a female voice, because it tends to remove some of that low end that you might get, which isn't standard on a woman's voice, but you can hear it cut into a guy's voice a little bit more. Or no, I'm sorry. Does it make it more muddy? I forget. Anyways, doesn't matter. It affects it a little bit, but that's if you have to really crank it up. That said, you can crank on this Isotope, and it's pretty seamless, or transparent is the better word. And I showed in my video how you can just go back to EQ and dig out a little bit more of what you had lost. So for the last few years, I've been using the RX stuff, Isotope. I still highly recommend it. If it goes on sale, 100%. And sometimes, here's the thing about noise. One thing doesn't work all the time. So sometimes you have to try a couple different apps when you're working with enough of this stuff that you have to remove different types of noise. But back to the Era 4 stuff. So I've been using this for at least 6 months. And it's incredible. The real difference is, so it's as good as Isotope in most cases, not every case, most cases. The thing is, what I found is I can apply more of the Acusonus and have it be transparent with less effect on my voice or any voice. So I am blown away by that. And again, we're not talking about sometimes we are talking about, I have a podcast host who lives in New York, and she has construction going on outside, a lot of stuff going on outside, and the audio sounds like she's in a studio that was more intentional, not like a NPR studio or a professional $1 million studio, but even something like I have in my space here. Anyways, this is what I would use. So let's see, if I re-engage here, it's at 2%. As I move this up, this one knob, this noise here is so low that I'm not even sure. Yeah, there's a reason it's not affecting that, which is very bizarre. It is on. Let me see. This is not a typical thing. I actually don't know what's going on with that, but trust me, this is what I would use. If I went to something more, let's see if we went to something more standard, like actual vocal track, something like this. And the thing is, we're not going to have much noise in here. Do I have a noise floor? Look at that. There's really like no noise floor in this. I think I might have already treated this. Yeah, I already treated this. I don't know if I have a vocal track that is untreated. Let's see. Banks was saying here, or Fizz uses Waves NS1 and a gate, and it gives clean audio. Yeah, a gate is that's what's nice about these, is they're sound less like a gate. I can almost always hear a gate, but if you only have to use, I like expansion more than a gate, right, where it pushes it down. But if you know what you're doing, they work fine. Part of a new creator bundle. Mike's demoing. NS1 works fine. It's set and forget, like the era for it, right? So let me see. I wasn't prepared for this, so I don't know that I have anything. Let's see if I open some recent stuff. I think I already did some of these. These are already treated. If I open up a recent roundtable session, I already treated these as well. Here's a podcaster roundtable. Oh, you know what? This was supposed to come out today. I'm doing this instead of releasing my podcast. It's only 10:30 here on the West Coast, so maybe I can still do that. However, there's a little floor in there. If I go back to the Acusonus and I put on this noise remover, let's put it on the mid frequency focus. And there's you can see a little bumps in here. Like, this isn't completely quiet. Something's going on in the microphone. But as you bring this up, it goes down. And the whole point is, this has been my favorite. Cool. And welcome everyone if you are sheltering. Oops. Thanks. That. And I got a little taste of roundtable there maybe. And I use it on pretty much every production. I'm going to do a proper video where I show how it works, because I'm not getting it to work the way I want here, mainly because I can't hear the audio. But I want to go back to the higher resolution meter here, to the 96 dB. And let's go back to, that was a big distraction there, but obviously related to noise floors. If you have questions about that, I think I said what I wanted to say on that one. My new sort of idea for my live streams, which just came to me before I started this live stream, because live streams tend to open up, they're sort of chill. My goal is to get into one topic, right? So the first 15 minutes is that very specific thing. So people, when they find this in the feed later, because I'll get more views that way, they're getting that content almost like a regular video. And then from then on, we can go off into Q&A. I can go off into different subjects, because anyone who sticks around at that point is just enjoying what we're talking about, right? Which is, we're just geeking out on pretty much any audio topic. So that's really my goal, I think, now for these types of live streams. We'll see how they affect the numbers. I mean, I noticed another diversion, but when I used to put that podcast that you saw there into this feed, the YouTube feed, because it was a video, it was recorded via Hangouts, so it was video. It did really well for that podcast, right? A lot of people who are subscribed to this YouTube channel discovered that it was a podcast, and they would subscribe. But an equal amount of people who are on this channel didn't want that video, and they would unsubscribe. So I would get a bunch of subs for that podcast. It was almost like I was siphoning subs for this channel off to those videos. So it wasn't working. I moved it to its own channel. That's the way it should be anyways. If the content really is that different, it should live on its own channel. So lesson learned. And I think I probably was doing it because I was lazy. Or maybe I thought I was going to get a bump. I don't know. I don't remember. That was back in, when did we start that show? 2009, 11? I just saw the date the other day. It's been a long time. All right, so I was going to show another track here. This is, the only thing I think I was going to talk about differently was how you are going to, this is this was the mic wide open. This was when I was demoing. Yes, this is when I was demoing this. So I had the gain turned up all the way on the preamp because I had this connected and was going to do the resistance test. Excuse me. And then you can see where I flip the switch because you've got these pops, right? But then it just drops. And it's not silent, which is telling me that it's not like it's just cutting off, any kind of connection to the preamp. It had a similar noise floor to the resistor, which told me that this also could work. But what is interesting about this sample and what I'm going to do with a real sample is I'm going to talk into a microphone, record a sample, and then bring it to level, right? What I would do for a normal production. So in this one here, if we just took this, if I got rid of these crazy peaks where the switch went on and off, let's just mess with this a little bit. We'll bring this way down to get rid of those, just get rid of those crazy peaks. All right, and then we have something that would be a little bit more consistent with what a normal recording would be without those pops. And if we brought the whole thing up to like a level, and obviously this is full preamp again, I wouldn't record like this, so the noise floor would not be the same. But if we look at this here, we scan that, we're looking at minus 22 LUFS. That's not going to be my final production audio. I am probably going to work at something like a minus 20 in the raw edit, so I can edit that way. And then it'll end up for a video, it's going to end up probably closer to like a minus 21 because, very controversial. But if I went out at minus 16, which is kind of like an internet standard, it's not like it's codified, but it's sort of a loose, well-known standard for people in production. Now, for internet delivery, that is much louder than almost any other YouTube video, and certainly louder than a video where my peers are going to review gear. So it's like the gear I'm reviewing sounds like it has more noise, and most people are not understanding that it's, this is LUFS. They don't know what that means. It's minus 16. So I feel like I've had to kind of find the middle there, and the audio is loud enough at around minus 21 for YouTube, but my podcast will go out at minus 16 LUFS, which I do find more important because as we talked about how it's in your ears, it's plugged right in, and you're using something like an ear pod, and a lot of podcasts consumed on commutes where you're on a train or a plane. Not these days, someday again. Stay safe. But you need that level. So, and that's kind of the argument for the minus 16. So I do it differently for video and podcast, really specific. So anyways, this is around, let me go back to the screen share here. Not sure why I popped out of that. I just felt like I was talking too long. We are now here at minus 20. Cool, let's work with that. And if I scan the noise, now here is the floor, right? Now this is more typical. This is going to be the noise floor when I bring it up to level to work on it for post-production. If I scan that, we're actually getting, usually it's so quiet you don't get a loudness spec. I'm actually getting that here. It's minus 63. That's fantastic. We're showing peak amplitude of minus 50. And if I play that section and the meter, it is closer. So that's going to be some cleanup, right? The total RMS is kind of close to the loudness, around minus 65. But again, we're back to that. First of all, I know what I want for my final production, what I can hear. It's certainly not what you're seeing on the meters and what the peak amplitude is around 50. You're seeing like minus, and because we talked about why that's peaking like that, there's little peaks in there. But look at the meter. We're bouncing around minus 52, 53, 54 dB. I certainly don't want that in my production. So I would, in that case, apply some noise remover to it. But I know I'm in a good place there, especially when that's the noise floor at the final product. And remember, I was cranked full preamp So it wouldn't even be recorded that loud. I don't know why this is not really showing. I mean, like I got to crank it in real time. You know why? It's so quiet. Oh, you know what? This is a good point. I talked about how Acusonics, nothing is always the right choice. I find that the era for the Acusonic stuff has a harder time, and I actually emailed them about this early. I forgot all about it. Has a harder time with these really tiny, really small, quiet noise floors. And I can see here it is, I have to crank it really loud. And that's probably going to affect the voice quite a bit. And this isn't a good sample to do it on because I'm holding the mic way away from me in this recording here. But if we see that, you can also see I'm in the high resolution meter. So we're down in the 80s. I mean, it's gone. If we're looking at the 72 dB range, obviously I can back off and it's quieter. So if I went to the thing about the isotope here is that the vocal denoise or voice denoise shows us. So adaptive, it's showing us, but it's not showing us as well. So you can see it in the audio meter there. As I increase the noise reduction, now 10 dB, it can handle it on isotope. Sounds like a lot, but it gets pretty quiet. So it's getting down there. If I increase the threshold, I'm all the way up at like 14 dB. It's minus 66. It's super quiet. Like I'm going to be able to clean this up. It's not going to affect my voice that much. I may EQ a little bit to get some back, but I pretty much can take care of that noise floor. So I actually find it like works better when the noise floor is more. The point is, back to the preamp and the noise floor and finding out what that is. We found out what it is. We found that we're definitely under minus 60 dB, which is fantastic. We're back down to like minus 65 if we're looking at the actual meter, not the average RMS number. I know I'm in a good place to start with that preamp. I'm happy with that. Everything else, I know that everything else that's louder is really me adding to it. Whether it's a microphone, which is its own issue, it's probably not even going to be the microphone. It's going to be the environment, the noise floor of your environment. It does not take much. The microphone hears everything. Hears things that we don't hear, right? And it really shows up in your audio. So I know the bass that I want to be at with something like this means I can go on with that device and sort of perfect that production. But I think that's all I wanted to show. I mean, I've been on live for 45 minutes here. I'll check the chat here, see if we got anything else going on. BS 1, 17, 72, and 3 all have a gate defined into the standard. Yeah, it's for those, right, for the really low level, right? So it's not measuring that really low level. So Bangs is talking about the loudness standard. When you're measuring this perceived loudness in the ITRBS, blah, blah. It has a gate factored into it. I'm forgetting the name for that. But so it's not measuring, it's not screwing up the loudness of your actual audio, because you want to know how loud is my audio, not how loud. You don't want it to be thrown off. Where I think the RMS does not have a gate in it. So that's why those numbers are different. I'm looking at them now. I'm not showing my screen, but you've got a loudness at minus 63, a little louder than what the average RMS is at minus 66. So that difference there is probably because the average RMS is not factoring in the gate. So it's throwing off the average because you have a lot of silent parts too. I think that's what that's about. I understand enough to get the final result that I want. All right. Yeah, Bangs is talking about spectral. Let's see. If you look at spectral denoise, look at the linked buttons. You can unlink tonal noise and noisy noise. Yeah, HVAC dead. The tonals, when I have to go to the spectral denoise, I'm in trouble. And I say that because it means I have some type of, you're talking about HVAC, it's usually a buzz, a ground loop. It's when I have to get like really dig in. And if a notch filter isn't doing it, I'm in there with a spectral denoise. And it's a little more difficult to use because it will affect your audio more, I find, even in like sort of the auto settings or adaptive, whatever it's called. But yes, the spectral denoise is great. Another great tool for that. I am in Ecamm here, and I really need to switch. Let's see, where is the, is it YouTube? What I wanted to find was this. Oh, you're not seeing it. I'm on my screen. Automatically hide comment overlays after 15 seconds, which is a great feature because if I throw a comment on here, I can just go back to talking. It stays on there long enough for everyone to read it, and then it goes away for me. I loved it. I've streamed already before, but I am a big fan of Ecamm Live. I paid for it. I wasn't going to pay for it. I was just going to try it. But I paid for it because I'm doing more live streaming. It's worth it for now. I don't know if I'm going to do enough live streaming to keep paying for it, but it is as good as I've heard. It's Mac only. Yeah, it's Mac only. It's Ecamm. They do the call recorder for Skype. Anyways, that's what I'm using here, and it's just so fantastic. Let's see. Fizz. Ray, do you have any compressors? I'm going to put that 15-second thing. Cool logo, by the way. Fizz ENT. Do you have any compressors? You know what's funny? When it comes to compression, I use very minimal compression. So I actually use the built-in Adobe stuff for that. When it comes to compression, all I'm doing is taming the peaks, really, the sort of the spikes that are way above. I'm just making things even, and then I'm gonna bring all that up with loudness normalization, with that, like a match loudness inside of Audition. So for me, compression is not doing much. I'm not trying to shape my sound with compression. Very light compression, only to tame those peaks. So pretty soft when it comes to that. I have a really cool. Let me show you. Here's what I do most of the time. It's always very vulnerable to show your process, but that's what we're doing here. On this here, if I was gonna, you can see, first of all, what I'm gonna do is phase rotate this, adaptive phase rotation. You can see it's not. You can see, look at this. This line here is all the way down to -1, where it doesn't extend like that. So there's more energy below than above. And so first step would be to use Isotope's actual audio editor. And they unfortunately don't have this built into Audition. A lot of the Isotope stuff, you can, do a plug-in into Audition. You have to go into their own software to do this. And let me see if it's showing you when I pull this up. Yes, I would go into this RX Standard. This comes with, the RX Standard package, or even the, I think it comes with the light version. Anyways, let me pull this over. And right here, can't see it, phase. This adaptive phase rotation is going to rotate the audio so that it is, I'm at a loss for the term I'm thinking of, but the energy will be the same above and below. The infinite line here. So total a loss for words. Someone will get it in the chat. But that's where I'm going to start, because right now a compressor is not going to affect this equally. But once this is phase rotated, I would come in here. I would just grab the single band compressor, and here's what I do. Where do I want these peaks up here to be tamed? Probably for me, these are dramatic. Again, this is a recording that would never be done normally. This was not the way I would record. Let's just say -7, right? Draw a line. You're like, I don't want it to be squashed too much. I want to tame these sort of out of control. The dynamic range is too much here, right? So I'm just going to set this threshold to -7, and 7.1 is fine. I'd probably better off if I just type in -7. And I have a really high ratio, 8:1, because I definitely want it to bring those down. I want it to catch everything. So a 1 millisecond attack, 15 millisecond release should get me, and that's maybe a little much, because again, it's not phase rotated. So I could go out of that. If it was too much, if it looked too squashed and I just want to tame, I maybe come down to somewhere closer to 5. And that's nicer. Maybe a little bit more. Anyways, fudge with that. That's all I'm going to do. And this is almost loudness normalized already. I'm also going to come into match loudness over here. I'm going to drop in the track. -20 dB is where I'm going to start. And then I actually will finish with some aphonic leveler to make sure, because usually times it's multiple tracks. I'll do some leveler, and that'll actually, it will level, which is important, right? Because just because it's loudness normalized doesn't mean that your guest is the same level as you are. So a leveler, an adaptive leveler like aphonic, is fantastic. I'm going to level in the edit by my ear, and then I let aphonic do a very light pass, and it just catches some of those critical parts. It works so well, and it will hit my final. So I'll come out of the edit raw wave at around like a minus 19, minus 20, maybe minus 18. It'll come out of there, and then when I convert that level process, I'll have aphonic hit that final. Let me open it up here. You can see I've got it podcast mobile minus 16 adaptive leveler. So that's it. That's all it's doing for me is adaptive leveling and this minus 16, which I don't know if you can see that because my face is in the way. Let me see. Let me find the right interface here. Let's move this there. So adaptive leveler, here, the target loudness, they have some presets, minus 16, and then that's it, adaptive leveler. So that's going to finish it off. I've already done all the other processing that I want to do. Let me close that without hopefully crashing everything here. All right. And then I'm going to do, compress to MP3, right? And you might get a little bump in loudness spec there, so you need to sort of maybe factor that in. Let's see. No compression on the live stream. Right. This is the compressor. The SM7B is taming dynamics, right? It's got its own frequency response. I'm my own compressor. I could run this through a compressor. Obviously, I have a DBX over there. I could have easily, didn't even think about it. It's not necessary, but I could add gates and compression. I do have some hardware gear, so I could take this XLR that is going into the mix pre, put it through the rack I have over here with the DBX, which would sound great. The preamps are so good on the mix pre, it's not a problem. There's my phone, but let me take that off ringer. Sorry, I have to make sure I'm getting my instructions right from the wife. I think there's water all over the bathroom because the kid took a shower and something about a dishwasher. So probably should get to that. But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, I could go into DBX, get my compressor, and then run that XLR out to the mix pre. And that would be cool, right? I'd get compression and gates. And since, that is one of the times to use hardware if you need to, because on a live stream, there's no post-processing on this. It's just going to go straight out to YouTube and exist as it is. So, yeah. I mean, I could even run I could probably run like a loudness radar on here to dial in loudness. I'm not that crazy about it. I know that it comes out in the end as a good product in this case, so I'm cool. Let's see, what else? The News Waves plugin. Playlist Writer has a decent leveler. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I haven't messed with it enough, obviously, but the vocal writer thing, I felt like was not transparent enough. But again, I haven't messed with it enough. I've heard good things as well. Aphonic's just been so good with their leveler that I'm happy with it. Obviously, there's more than one thing that works. That is the key to all of this. So hopefully no one takes any one video they see on YouTube and just buy stuff based on that. Please take it and then go look at all the other videos. I so want sound devices to make a plugin to emulate the DBX286. Yeah, that would be cool. I basically, shocker, dramatic pause, but really just need water. I don't even use, since I've got the Rodecaster, my hardware is dead. I am so happy with my audio through the Rodecaster. SM7B to the Rodecaster with the way I have that set up. And maybe I'll do a live stream. I think I did a live stream on that where I showed the setup. Yeah, because I went through the beta, the updated firmware which it's still beta because I'm looking over here and it actually says beta up there because this thing is so cool. I'm super happy with the audio that I get. It's been a long time to say that. And it's all done in the box. It does everything I need. It's got some effects, and you can now control, with the updated firmware, you can control the amount of the gates, the compressors, the effects. It dialed. Love it. So that's what I'm using. But I keep the gear, and I might sell that gear someday, but I do like having it. Again, live streams would be a great place. I could run this through the Rodecaster. I just need I need to convert the outs to XLR because the MixPre is not. Unfortunately, the MixPre 3 doesn't have combo jacks. I have 1/4 inch to XLR for my monitors, but it's all like rigged under my desk and stuff. So I just need to buy another 1/4 inch to XLR so I can try that because that would be great. The reason I'm going into MixPre and not using, I could Rodecaster direct to Ecamm, and the 6500 would be my camera. The problem with that, and Ecamm has a thing on here, it would be a delay. Typically, you got to delay the audio because the audio is getting there faster than the video, and you might have a sync issue. And I actually don't know. Hopefully, I don't have a sync issue now. It worked well last time, but because the audio is going through the HDMI, so you're getting this audio, it's in sync with the camera, right? Because it is the camera's audio. So that's what I have going on. It's just in theory, easier setup, at least right now, for the rig that I have. Do you have any Nop Top? Dude, well, you are up late, man. You are up late. Go subscribe to Nop Top. Maybe, I don't know how much, because YouTube sucks. Actually, I love YouTube, but it sucks in showing you the stuff that you subscribe to, ironically enough. But Nop Top is, it went away. I'm going to put it back up there because you should go subscribe to Nop Top. Maybe on Instagram, because I think he's even more active on Instagram, but Instagram just shows me more. So do I have any new gear coming in? That I feel like yes. These lights are new gear. So this light here, which is a Quasar tube, it's a bicolor Quasar tube. I could switch it to, I won't bother. It goes from daylight to tungsten. You're seeing the tungsten right now. I got a LIFX beam, which is basically a tube like that, but RGB. It was a more affordable way, not affordable, way to get RGB, and that's going to be my backdrop for the other set that I do in this space. So lights were new gear. I got like a thing for my harmonica. So some music gear, but it's still audio. The Evo 4 that I reviewed, right there, that's the Evo 4. I reviewed that. So that was new gear, but I don't use it now. It becomes like a testing device, which I'm going to do with, right? I built new gear. That should make you happy because Nop Top is good at just making the stuff he needs. I buy too much stuff, but if it wasn't for YouTube, it wouldn't pay for itself and it would be harder. So fortunately, I'm able to funnel the money back into the money from YouTube can go back into the gear, and it's a circular thing, right? Couldn't you use a Rodecaster headphone out jack? Yes, has 4. I could just use one of those line level jacks. Again, it's just about the connection for the setup I have right now, which would be, you know what? I don't even know why I would even bother with the MixPre at that point. I could go Rodecaster 1/8, it's 1/4 inch. I got 1/8 inch on the front to 1/8 inch on the camera. The reason why the MixPre works that way is because I have a huge pad on the MixPre, right? It lets you attenuate what is a line level signal. So I'd have to test out if the Sony A6500, because I'm on the recording level's on 1 right now and it's pretty hot. That's what I was going to talk about, where my levels on the MixPre are, I'm about minus, it's really hard to see across the room, maybe minus, actually it's, hold on, it's like minus 20, right? So I'm fine recording that way, especially on the MixPre. It's got fantastic preamps, dynamic range, but it would not take the level. I have to attenuate a lot. And this is a common DSLR thing because they're mic inputs. They're not line inputs. So essentially the MixPre is letting me do line level to the Sony. So I have to test whether I can go Rodecaster direct to the Sony. Otherwise, I'd go to the MixPre or buy an attenuator. Yeah, could do that too. Lots of different ways to do that. Let's see. Not Top says he doesn't upload too often. Neither do I. Maybe that's one reason live is easy way to get on there. I know that's not the content people want, but did some live streams a few weeks ago. Awesome. I'll check them out. I'm enjoying where it just goes away. Not Top, your logos. I love your logos, and it looks great on this live stream. I'm just gonna keep it up. That yellow goes. It's color. Complementary colors to the purple, whatever color I have shining on there. I took 2 old gels that I had, put them together, and that's the color I got. Love the lighting, David. Thanks, David, man. You know what? It's so funny because I spent way too much time. I really like lighting. So right here, the key light is an aperture, which is I really love this because it's sort of buy once, I'm hoping, and it's sort of, I'm planning on that. I buy one really nice key light once every like 8 years or something, and this one better last at least that long. I don't plan to buy another one. And then everything else is literally, it's one key light with the Light Storm. Is it Light Storm Mini? Whatever. It's the 120D, so it's the older one. So diffused through the Light Storm, which is compact. This is a fairly small space. I mean, it's big for someone who's doing this in it, but it's not a huge space. It can't take the original light dome, even though I do have one. It could. That thing is ridiculously big. Better, softer light, but this light dome is so compact. The Light Storm, I always get it mixed up, but it makes a nice soft light. So that is really the only light that you're seeing here that is doing anything for the exposure. Everything else you're seeing is accent lighting. This on the back here, this purple light again is this is a light I've had for like, it's dying. It's like flickering and it's LEDs. That's a ring light that I've had for like 15 years or something. This thing, yeah. With gels taped to it and all kinds of rubber band gels on it. So that's creating that. And then of course the Quasar, that's a 4-foot tube. I got a killer deal on it. I had to buy it, right? I wanted one of those for years. I would not say go out and buy one necessarily because powering them is kind of a pain. It's not super convenient. You have to plug it in. You probably need some adapters. You need an extension cord. Then you need something to hold up the light. But I'm going to use a C-stand and just one clamp, and you have a light that's so portable and diffused and big. I bought the 4-foot one. So in theory, I bought another key light because from what I've seen over the years, you can use that as a key light, despite like it's being a small size. It makes a really nice soft diffused light. So I'm going to test that, obviously. See if it works as a key light. See how it compares as a key light to this. Right now it's dimmed, which then I had to buy a separate dimmer. It doesn't dim on its own, but it is bicolor. So I wish this was bicolor because I actually like the look better of a tungsten light being lit by tungsten with daylight backdrops. I'm always reversed because I have a daylight key light, and so you're seeing tungsten back there. I like the look. Once I threw in this LED light and got that purple behind it, looked really good. So anyways, super long-winded. Thank you. I've spent way too much time on the lights. I mean, even hitting the desk here with a little like glow, that's coming off of the Quasar. So thanks. That's all I'm here for. It's just video that looks pretty. That's all I'm really doing. Drive you crazy trying to achieve it. Big fan of LED lighting. Yeah, it's come a long way. I mean, the aperture stuff, the single chip lights are stellar. I mean, the only thing, and I did a review of it, my only criticism is that it's LED, but I guess because it's chip on board, so there's a lot of LEDs, and because it's so bright, still needs a fan despite being LED. And I can hear it from here, and it is, I don't know, like 3-4, it's 4 feet away from me. Doesn't mean that the mic can hear it, but when I'm recording close to it with like a lav mic, it does create a little bit of a noise floor like we were talking about. So I'm going to do some cleanup on it. And I think it's from that fan. It's hard to tell. That's where it gets real tricky. When your noise floor is really good it becomes difficult to tell what it's from. Is it just ambient that you're not really hearing? Right now, I have HVAC off, unfortunately, and it's sweaty. So it is almost time to go because I'm sweating in here. Because it's too warm in California already. So definitely getting sweaty. But that's a sacrifice we make for our audio. But there's essentially no sound. If I'm quiet, there's a sound from the iMac and a sound from the light, the two fans. Those are two fans going. They are within feet of this microphone. Obviously, no noise gate. If I had the Rodecaster in play, it does have a noise gate, and it's really transparent from my experience, the way I have it set, and my voice does not get cut off, and I have it very light, so it dampens the sound. So when I am quiet, it would push that away. But I always set my noise gates. I try to make them like expanders, so as the breaths trail off, or even if I breathe, that's going to be enough to open the gate so that it's not cutting off any syllables of speech. And the idea is that your noise floor is so low that that's all you really need, hopefully. But every environment's different. That's in a studio setup, right, where I'm recording a podcast. I'm very intentional about the sound. All right. I think we're about ready to wrap up. We are staring down an hour plus. So I don't know who's going to watch this on YouTube. Hopefully the new strategy of going with the primary content up top, and I have no idea how the algorithms, I don't really care. As long as it doesn't hurt the channel, I very much enjoy doing the live streams and long form. If people drop off after the first 3 minutes of an hour-long stream, there's debates. YouTube likes long format now. Or if your retention sucks, then, do they penalize you? Whatever. I try not to cater to the algorithms. Make the stuff you want. And trust me, that's really, the algorithms, pay attention to that stuff, could have like little effects here and there, good or bad. But if you make the stuff you want, that's what's going to make an actual difference. Because that's how I started my channel back in 2009. I was answering someone's question just to tell them about the setup, a very similar setup that I have today for live streaming. You couldn't use back then, but I had it for my interview setups. And they just asked a question based on a picture I think they saw on Instagram, like what was the setup? I did that video. It launched an entire channel. Zero to do with algorithms. It just resonated with people who like the stuff that I like, who had that question that viewer had. So don't worry about algorithms. I always say if you make good stuff, and if it's good to you, it's good, in my opinion. It's just a matter if it's also something that other people enjoy. But if you make good stuff, that's always going to win, because Google's going to want to put that in front of people when people find it and they say, I like this stuff or whatever. Anyways, make good stuff. I'm just saying don't cater to algorithms. It feels like Podcasters Roundtable now, but let's see. Let me go out here. Let's wrap up a few questions. Fizz, with all the options out there, how did you decide to go with mic you are currently using? That's actually a great question, because I have a lot of those options. I started with an AT2020. It was a condenser mic. Still have it. Actually, a buddy has it. I gave it to him to record his guitar, to try it. Didn't know anything, so I bought condenser for a podcast. It's fine. We can go into that debate, but there's better. So the answer is I've tried a lot of things. Had the Heil PR40, great mic, a little too crunchy for me, almost a little too colored, even though it sounds pretty good on my voice. Intro mics, I would call these introduction mics, the ATR 2100, the Q2U. However, not to be discounted, because there's my autofocus. This is enough. First, this Q2U feels so good. This feels like more of a professional mic compared to the ATRs. Feels pretty good too, but this is it's got weight to it, and I love the all black. This is the black version. You don't see this very often. It's probably part of the reason I picked it up, but it's a little bit better in its frequency response and a couple other features, although a little more susceptible to noise. So interestingly, this $80 microphone. You can get it for $60, all kinds of sales. Compared to this SM7B, you know, when you talk about the audio qualities, this sounds amazing. Amazing. And in fact, it might sound better on my voice. It's hard to say. It's very subjective. I love the way the SM7B sounds on my voice, but the main difference here is build, quality, engineering. Will this last? I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't worry about buying one and worry about lasts. It's going to be good enough. The SM7B, you know, this is something to stick in the will. And quite honestly, this is a mic I wanted to try for a very long time. And it wasn't even a mic I wanted to try for myself. I obviously wanted to try it for me, but I wanted to buy it when I got a budget for it to be a guest mic for several reasons. And that should be a live stream. So I will. Let me note that, because if I don't, all these topics come up and then I'm like, I got nothing to do a live stream on. I'll talk more about that. But the core of it is that I bought it as a guest mic and tested it on myself and really liked it. And then once I combined it with, once the processing, got it in the Rodecaster, I also love the form factor. It's so funny because using the microphone, maybe these are notes from my next live stream where at the beginning more people are actually watching right now. You know, who knows who's left. If you're still watching, seriously, I would tell you hit a like. People do that all the time. Press a like but no one ever knows who presses what like. Leave a comment. I know that's tougher. If you're watching live, leave a comment. But if you're watching especially if you're watching all of this in the recorded version, the archive, in the feed on YouTube, definitely leave a comment and let me know you're still here. And just comment with like 100 emoji or something. I don't know, just something, because that's amazing to me. And I'd like to say thank you. But thank you for everyone who's here live, because they're David and Bangs and Fizz, Nop Top. Very cool stuff. Been here the whole time, so I really need to let you guys go. But half of this microphone is its form factor and how it works. Because it's internally shock mounted, a little bit. I can grab it and move it, I find, during my podcast more so than other microphones. I love the built-in pop feature. I like the way it's on camera, the different orientations without big pop filters. There's so many things I like. So it's not just about sound. It's also about form and function and quality and build. And then I think it also looks cool, right? So all of these things can matter. Maybe they shouldn't. But for someone like me who does do stuff on camera, I do enjoy not only using a legacy microphone like this that has just been in legendary places and used on legendary voices. I had to know what that was about. The adjustable frequency response, I like that. I've used the low cut sometimes, and sometimes I don't. So I'm still experimenting with that. So right now, it's my favorite mic. So to make a really short question long, which I did, that's what that's about. But thanks for the idea, because I think I'll talk more about it on a live stream. So let me see. I got some. Ever use Audio Hijack to include a light noise removal in audio chain? I don't, just because I generally don't like going through software. I love Audio Hijack. I use it all the time for other things. And you could 100% do that. 100%. Man, these things, I spend so much time on the physical setups, and then I want things to work, just the hardware that I've got going. To set up audio to software processes, yes, could be done. In fact, that's why I didn't even use something like an Ecamm Live. I'm that lazy. I wouldn't call it lazy because it takes me hours to do this. But using YouTube's webcam, so their direct sort of encoder, if you just go to the back end of YouTube and use the webcam, it used to be 720. It does 1080 now. But and it looks fantastic. So I could be doing that, super happy, bringing in the questions, all the overlays, rolling in stuff, the screen sharing, the picture-in-picture, the simplicity, and I'm doing all of that to YouTube from the encoder, which is Ecamm. Obviously, OBS does all of this. It all comes down again, kind of like that 2i4 where all the controls are right there. I'm not diving into other software. Ecamm just makes it so seamless that I'm super enjoying it. So, but that's typically why I don't go and set up those other things. But yes, Audio Hijack, 100% thumbs up. I would completely recommend that if you wanted to add in something like that. Bang says, if people watch 3 minutes of an hour stream, it will kill you for other content. Yeah, I find that here's the thing. Here's why it doesn't matter. When it relates to my channel, I don't know what the subs are. It's 60-something thousand that I have. Thank you. But subs on a YouTube, I've talked about this ad nauseum. Bangs have probably heard me say this too many times. Subs on YouTube are nothing like subs on a podcast. If I have 3,000 subs on a podcast, that is going to mean more for my for people listening to the next thing I put on into the podcast feed than 60-something thousand subscribers on YouTube is going to mean for the next video. I had just told you that Noptop was here, and you do not see the stuff you subscribe to in a lot of cases, which sucks. And because YouTube thinks it knows what you want to see, and I have to say they're right. I find more creators on YouTube than I do on podcasts, but that's another conversation altogether. But YouTube subscribers. So why I say it doesn't matter. So it could hurt my content for the next video I upload. I have found that my audience, it took 60-something thousand subs to get a consistent consistent 1,000 views on any video that I upload. Doesn't mean it will, but that's typically what I can count on, which is a crazy 61 ratio, right? Or whatever it is. So I can't depend on that. My channel, I think people hit subscribe as a like button a lot on YouTube. So less than, again, it's about the way people use it, but also it's about how YouTube shows the content. But I have to almost recreate my audience every time. So my videos that have a lot of views, that's all search. It's all search. It had nothing to do with subscribers. My subscribers probably, a lot of my subscribers probably watched it. And I totally get it because I have one video about Canon. Then I'm going to have another video about Sony. Then I'm going to have another video about Audient. Focusrite. Like it's not a type of channel where you come back. Now, if you're interested in audio or video in general, those are the people who come back. But any success that I have on YouTube is going to be built unfortunately, from subscribers in terms of all of those subscribers are going to watch my video. It's like, oh, I made them 50,000 subscribers and all my videos get 50,000 subs, which obviously you know all this stuff. But it's not going to change anything. Actually, when I talked about like buttons, actually hit the like if you don't mind. If you're this deep, definitely hit the like. And it does show me. So that's cool. It does show me who. It would be really cool. I get to see live likes come in. There's 12. Where it does matter on live is that likes during live, they'll surface the live to more people if people are liking it. So I'm waiting for Magic 13 to come in, but probably everyone that's here has already hit the like button. So I'm cool with that. I thought you started in produce. Yeah. Produce and producing. Yeah. All through high school and college, I worked in grocery stores. A large chunk of that time, the older part of I worked my way in the produce department, which is a fantastic gig. If you can get on a good team, those are teams, they're tight teams. Anyways, I won't get into the dynamics of grocery store workers. Also, frontline workers, heroes right now. Thank you. Not me. You guys still out there working. I put in way too much time in a grocery store. I started a podcast about tips that I was teaching people, and when that was part of my life, that's how I started online, because I needed something to talk about. That's what I knew about. And then it became about audio and video. So yes, you're right. There is a link there. The producer, the Blink 500, the Blink 500, David, the producer. Oh, the Blink 500. I don't know what that's about. Have you tried, David asks, have you tried the Saramonic wireless Lav 11-ear mics? I haven't, but Saramonic I'm very interested in. They have a lot of, so they're what I would say are cheap budget options that seem to be really good. They're kind of like an Audio Technica where they make stuff that's affordable, but also good from everything I've seen. So yes, the Saramonic stuff interests me a lot in terms of what people, if they're on a tight budget, I would probably definitely push people to some Ceramonic stuff. I can't say anything about it because I haven't tested them out, but I've obviously watched probably all the same reviews that you have from a lot of the trusted YouTubers that we both probably follow and know. And yeah, their stuff looks cool. They do, and they have a couple unique things, which is really cool, like 2 lavs into 1 receiver, I believe, and yeah, some cool stuff. The Behringer price increases are killing me for starter mic Rex. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, anytime when you come to me with starter mic, I'm not going to go past ATR 2100 or Q2U simply because they sound great, they're affordable, you can even catch a sale, and USB XLR combo means it doesn't become a paperweight when you start with USB. So you can get started right now with no knowledge of gear, go to that XLR, and it's not a paperweight. It goes into a mixer, becomes a guest microphone. Love it. It's just easy. More the mixer and the interfaces, right? So Behringer's raising their prices on their mixers and interfaces. That's interesting. Behringer's got some secret. I mean, it's funny because that'll give them more credibility, and I think they deserve it. Like, there's been enough good stuff coming out of Behringer. I've had bad stuff too, but they make good, cheap stuff, if that's the way to say it. What preamp is Ray using? I'm using the Mix Pre, so a fantastic preamp right now. Of course, I don't know how it sounds. I'm not currently monitoring. I will go back and watch the stream. I'll scrub through the stream to see the results, so then I can build on that next time. Awesome. Look at it, Pronto Man with the 100 comment. Thanks, man. Thanks. That was cool. And then Bangs answered, sound devices Mix Pre to camera. 100%. There you go. All right. Great channel. Just subscribed. Hey, Fizz, thanks, man. Sub. So hopefully YouTube will show you stuff. I don't release stuff a lot like Knob Top, and I wish I could be regular on this channel. I'm lucky in that this channel and any of the stuff I do online is not my income. I do make money full-time as an audio video producer full-time. Oh, no, I lose my autofocus doesn't like my hand near my face because I've set the zone up here. Anyways, Sony, really good autofocus, but you do have to be careful. Set your zones right. Full-time professional podcast producer. Mostly that's what I do. That's how I make a living for an organization of a podcast network. So very lucky. Dang, you didn't read my name. I think I did, though. Pronto Man 247. Is that what you're trying to... that's all I know. Proto Man. I'm sorry. It's not Pronto. Proto Man 247. Thanks for this. I like the live stream. Thanks, Sam. Makes me feel a little like Joe Rogan. Maybe he's talking about the SM7B. And then my arm. This arm is not the Rogan arm. This one's better, I think. The OC White. He uses the one that has the cable that you actually have to like do some soldering, which I talk about in my next video with this resistor thing. 14 likes. Yes, I saw that come in. Thank you so much, the Chubby Guppy. That was super appreciated. Now look at that. The fishing show. It kind of looks like some cool artwork there. I'll have to check that out. The Comerica Boom XD wireless kit. 2 full transmitters to stereo out the receiver for $240. Oh, let me hit the microphone here. Cool, yeah. I said Comerica, but it's Comica, I guess. I like Comerica better. Maybe those are 2 different brands? Anyways, yes. Also some good cheap stuff. I hate saying cheap because it makes it sound like it's garbage, but hopefully you know what I mean when I say good cheap stuff. Sounds fantastic. Thank you, Proto Man. The UMC 404 HD went from 99 to 178. Wow. Maybe. I think that's Podcastage's fault. I think it's Julian Krause's fault for good reasons. That thing has always been like a secret. It has one of the lowest noise floors for preamps in the consumer market, and it was like the cheapest. But now, I mean, that's a crazy jump, right? Like, I can understand like a $20 jump, and even that's going to be like rough, I think, because now you're entering the market where you can get something that is at least perceived better or built better. It's not plastic. You can get a Scarlett that at least has a metal housing, if that's important to you. That's rough. I have recommended that one, and I haven't even tested it, but I'm able to trust those who have. That's a bummer. Yeah, the yellow tech mic, Mika. I mean, that's how they call it for Rogan, and yeah, that one is more difficult to set up. I also just like this arm, but I think you could buy a cheap TV arm and get the same effect. I like the low profile. I don't like having a boom come up over. I don't like the boom. I like the boom as least in the picture as possible, and I like up from under as opposed to like this scissor arm coming over. I've had the Heil scissor arm one, which didn't work well on the desk. This one I drilled a hole. Of course, it's too close to the desk, so if you have it extended the way I do, you can't see everything. It can bump the desk. That's my only criticism and something I need to overcome, probably with some washers near the mount or just a rubber gasket underneath or something. But for what it costs, there should be no issues. But it's partly my fault for the way I mounted it because I have it extended all the way out. So in the end, I am happy with it. That would be my one criticism. All right. Julian Krause. Yeah, Proto Man. Good one there. Good sub. Xenix mixers have price increases as well. Trump-China tariffs, I think. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get out of this COVID stuff, and hopefully we'll get out of some other stuff that we don't want to be in pretty soon. Fingers crossed. Behringer has really upped their game. Love the X32 digital mixer. Very interesting device. Also the X32 stuff. Cool. Yeah, there's been some new arms come out that are the tube stuff that's coming out. That's cool. All right. Way too long. Overstayed my welcome. It is definitely sweaty in here. Good thing there's no 4D where scent comes out of what the YouTuber's going on, because I might not wear deodorant. It's not that bad. But an hour and a half, that should be my limit easily. I've had so much fun. Obviously, I don't want to leave. I think I've accomplished the goal here. And you guys, thank you so much for chatting. Hope everyone gets a good night's sleep. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, even though YouTube doesn't do as great a job. But you made it here, so you're probably subscribed and you got notified. Maybe that's how you made it here. You don't even need to subscribe. You got notified. But all right, good night. Rob, thanks for checking in. Hopefully you ask your questions in the comments on the replay. And I will see everyone on the next one. These setups take so long. I wish I could just leave this all here. Technically, I could. I like a clean office. So I'll set up again and see you next time. It's been a blast. Thanks, everyone.